Hi, everyone here and around the world. Ian told me today that we have broken through 204,000 subscribers. A big thanks to all of you. And if you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps Earthfiles on the YouTube channel. So just click that red arrow on the bottom right of your screen. And if you appreciate the work we're doing, please give us a like. And while all of us in the Earthfiles YouTube channel are waiting for the honest news that we are not alone in this universe and governments have known since World War II that other intelligences from the cosmos interact with Earth. But power broker policies of lies and denials have kept the world public in the dark. Well, a week ago, Scientific American headline, quote, "Researchers made a new message for extraterrestrials," close quote. They are referring to updating the Arecibo message, an interstellar radio transmission that was sent to globular star cluster M13 from Earth in 1974, half a century ago. The Arecibo message, produced by Cornell University astronomers Frank Drake and Carl Sagan, was an interstellar radio message carrying genetic chemistry and other information about humans on Earth to globular star cluster M13. Ironically, as these new Arecibo messages are sent allegedly waiting for an extraterrestrial reply, I am receiving many different reports from people in military, aerospace, and intel about the presence of several different alien intelligences interacting with our planet now, as they have for thousands of years. And last week, I focused on the TRAPPIST-1 solar system, about 40 light years from Earth, with skilled remote viewer Psychic X Buddy Bolton in Bronx, New York. Buddy helps police find children and has applied his remote viewing skills in work for many scientists and government intelligence analysts. His accuracy with verifiable targets is extremely high. Once, he did a 2-hour viewing of 19 targets, and he got all of them correct. That's why I called Buddy to let him know that NASA had released on March 6, 2022, 1 month ago, an article entitled, "Exploring Alien Worlds with NASA's Webb Space Telescope in the TRAPPIST-1 System," close quote. That headline was followed 10 days later on March 16th with a NASA press conference to say the first scheduled Webb telescope images might begin in June or July this year. But the first target images would be, quote, "super secret," close quote. I wondered why a publicly funded government agency would classify the first astronomical images of the Webb telescope. Since NASA itself suggested on March 6th that the TRAPPIST-1 solar system about 40 light years from Earth could be a good place to start searching and exploring alien worlds, and they use the word alien, I asked skilled remote viewer Buddy Bolton in Bronx, New York, to remote view the TRAPPIST-1 solar system. Last week, he described what he saw about the 7 exoplanets that have diameters ranging from Mars to Earth sizes, orbiting closely to a cool red dwarf sun. Buddy reported water on at least 4 of the 7 planets, and he senses a variety of life forms on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th planets, including highly intelligent cetaceans, such as dolphins, whales, and porpoises on Earth, that live in the water of the 3rd planet from the TRAPPIST-1 sun. Buddy senses the water beings have very advanced minds that can interact with the molecules of matter and can build beautiful structures on land like this, where the spirals generate energy. Buddy was also surprised to see in his remote viewing mind's eye a long cylindrical spacecraft between the 4th and 5th TRAPPIST planets. I asked Buddy if he could see who is inside the craft. For tonight's April 6th, 2022 Earthfiles YouTube broadcast, Buddy made a brief video of the rapid impressions he writes down and sketches of his mind images.
There's a large craft. It is miles long, over 5, I believe. And it has a type of biological, a humanoid type of biological in there. And they have launched several probes. They're building factories. This is a very hot, exciting solar system here. And now we're going to go into the giant craft. The giant craft, it's miles and miles long, approximately 5 miles long. It's a flying city. There's only 5 of these city ships. The race here has lost its homeworld. I didn't get all the reasons, but it was no longer habitable.
I drew a drawing of them. It wasn't really quite a hooked nose, but it was a very large nose. And these guys have vertical pupils. And all of them wear this neck thing. And it's like a series of oval-shaped things back to back. And I drew it in red. And I think most of them were red.
I've run into the same kind of thing that abductees call it a large necklace around the neck of a being standing in front of them during an abduction. And they get the impression that it is a technology.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because all of them had it.
About how tall?
Between 6 and 7 feet. The things that I got from them were, they're very much about trying to colonize and preserve their race.
There's only about 12 to 15 million of these beings left. They're on these 5 supercraft, and on a couple planets where they have little colonies. The reason why they're here is they're studying this solar system and deciding on where they're going to colonize here. And this is a weird thing that I got connected to with this. In their solar system that their origins are from, they had a sister planet that was nearby, and I think their cousins were the extraterrestrials that landed at Holloman. I kept getting that.
Holloman Air Force Base was established in 1942 and is located 6 miles southwest of Alamogordo, New Mexico, near the White Sands Missile Range. It was the Alamogordo bombing range that was used for the first atomic bomb test on July 16, 1945. During Buddy's recent remote viewing of the TRAPPIST-1 solar system, he kept sensing that the 4th planet from the red dwarf TRAPPIST-1 sun has biological humanoids that are genetic cousins, he says, to other extraterrestrials that allegedly landed at Holloman Air Force Base on Earth in the 20th century. I first learned about an extraterrestrial meeting at Holloman Air Force Base when I was working on a documentary film for Home Box Office entitled UFOs, The E.T. Factor. The date was March 26, 1983, and I had flown to Los Angeles to meet with Robert Emenegger, the co-author with Alan Sandler, of this 1974 book and documentary entitled UFOs, Past, Present, and Future. The book had a 16-page photo section of, quote, artist's conception of UFO occupants based on eyewitness descriptions, close quote. In later editions, the photo section was deleted for unknown reasons. Included in the first edition photo section was this page of a craft and a big-nosed UFO occupant with vertical pupil cat eyes who landed on a secret site at Holloman Air Force Base for a meeting with the Holloman Base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Bon Vachon. The book was produced and copyrighted in 1974 by Sandler Institutional Films, Inc. I would learn later that Mr. Sandler did contract work for the CIA, and Bob Emenegger said he discussed the Holloman Air Force Base landing with Robert Haldeman, Chief of Staff in the Nixon administration. Haldeman did not deny the Holloman UFO landing and meeting with ETs. Emenegger and Sandler said the Holloman meeting with extraterrestrials that landed in a UFO was in 1971, but I would learn independently from other sources that the actual true landing date was 6 a.m. on April 25, 1964. Emenegger also told me that he and Sandler had gone to Norton Air Force Base in California to view the 16-millimeter film shot at the Holloman Air Force Base meeting with the big-nosed alien beings. Further, Emenegger told me that he watched an illustrator make this drawing of one of the three beings and UFO disc craft while holding the original 16-millimeter frames up to a light while he sketched. I would now like to quote from my own handwritten notes on that March 1983 evening in Mr. Emenegger's Los Angeles home. And further, Emenegger told me he watched an illustrator make this drawing of one of the three beings and UFO disc craft while holding the original 16-millimeter frames up to a light while he sketched. I would now like to quote from my handwritten notes on that March 1983 evening in Mr. Emenegger's Los Angeles home. And I'm reading from my own 1989 book, An Alien Harvest. And it's in chapter 7. Quote, Holloman is true. ETs have come. The extraterrestrials seemed to be doctors, professional types. The eyes had vertical pupils like a cat's, wore silver leotard, ropes across head, think of the Sumerian ropey headdresses, ropes across head, aquiline nose, thin one-line mouth, no chin. Look back in history at the Assyrians. If this is an accurate description, the nose is not consistent with the usual gray creatures with flat, noseless faces. Is this yet another type of ET? Whatever was exchanged between the humans and extraterrestrials, something was taken to the Blue Room at the Pentagon, which at the time was only accessible to Foreign Technology Division CIA types, and not even to the president. Another keeper of UFO artifacts is the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey, close quote, notes taken with Robert Emenegger all the way back to the 1980s at his home. And I asked Buddy, if the Holloman Air Force Base ETs in April 1964 are genetic cousins of the large-nosed beings in the 5-mile-long ships now orbiting in the TRAPPIST-1 solar system, what happened to the large-nosed beings' planet?
Why they left, they knew that the planet was dying. I think it was like the magnetosphere and a combination of some of their ecological stuff that had been done generations and generations before, and they had enough time to leave. So they finished up the large craft. They put as many people on the craft as they could, as you can imagine, a craft would need to bring the last of the species. They've got a huge, like, arboretum kind of area with fruits and all sorts of plants, giant bubbles of water so they can swim and have other beings in the water that they want to transfer to wherever they're going. I've got the sense, kind of like a Noah's Ark. These are all the plants and stuff that they eat, they enjoy, that are important to them. Some have spiritual value, some have other types of value, and they are going to want to transfer these and keep these alive and taking this stuff with them. So that's all they have, is 5 of these ultra-large craft.
I would like to hear from you in the Earthfiles YouTube channel audience who feel in that intuitive gut sense, whatever it is you are feeling in your intuitive gut sense about TRAPPIST-1. The planets there, Buddy's remote viewing, the fact that NASA has been pointing at the TRAPPIST-1 system now for over a year as possibly a good place to go with something like looking with the Webb telescope. And let's hope that we get past this stage where they seem to be thinking in terms of keeping something super secret for reasons unknown, and that it will all go public, and that we will have at least this baseline that we all participated in the March to April time period of 2022. And how much will be discovered in TRAPPIST-1, how much has already been discovered, and we just have not been told. So I would like to know what you guys are feeling, what your gut is telling you. And with that, Ian, what comments and questions do we have tonight?
Well, Linda, we've got Buddy in the chat tonight, and he's fielding a few questions directly from our audience. Hi,
Buddy. Love you, doll.
It's good to have him along. One of the questions that people are asking, Buddy, is he actually blind to the targets that you give him? I don't know if you can answer that.
Well, blind, I mean, we're talking about a solar system that is 39 and a half, or rounded off at 40 light years from Earth. We know from astronomers that there really are 7 planets there. Buddy may be right about a small 8th sort of rocky thing, that it may have been an asteroid or something that got caught, but he thinks there may actually be an 8th object, but quite small. And that, so in terms of my definition of a blind target, in remote viewing, they don't have any, they're not supposed to have any information or knowledge about what it is, what the target is. And that's where they do these tests on targets that are verifiable, but the remote viewers go through a lot of targets, and they don't learn anything about what it is, what their remote viewing has done, until much later. So in that sense, Buddy is getting his sense, his gift of being able to, in a strange way, it's sort of like extending your mind out into the universe to various specific goals, ideas, in this case, TRAPPIST, the TRAPPIST-7, and seeing what he would pick up, since he's very sensitive to various kinds of targets. He knew that what we were trying to access was the TRAPPIST-1 7 planets. Was there life? What would he feel? What would he see? So in that sense, it was an identifiable target, a solar system. But beyond that, I would say that everything else is coming through this lens that Buddy Bolton is able to focus on space, on a whole bunch of things. Remember when we did the cold dark sea? I still am working on several things about the cold dark sea, and what Buddy was able to produce a year and a half or so ago about the cold dark sea is still remarkable. And that's the talent of people who can be given on nothing firm. They just are given a target and then see what they come up with. So I'd be interested if Buddy would refine and send through you, Ian, meaning I think what they mean is he knew it's a solar system 40 light years away, but the rest of it is what he sees, feels, follows, that we can't show the rest of the world. So I don't think it is a completely, I don't think it's a false way of using remote viewing. Remember, Ingo Swann, I've mentioned this before, I was privileged to be with a group that we were at Ingo Swann's place under this sidewalk. I think it was in the village where Ingo Swann lived, and he got out. He showed us his binder of remote viewing Jupiter. So he knew he was remote viewing Jupiter, but what he got turned out that something like 16 of 17 statements that he made over the time that he remote viewed up to the current day when Ingo was talking with us. It was something like 16 of the 17 controversial statements had already been verified by scientists, and the one that is left that still has not been verified, Ingo and I remember that day we were looking at the binder and he showed us the part where he said he saw like mountainous objects, maybe made out of rock, but maybe, I think I remember him saying something about metal, mountain shapes at the core of Jupiter. And he stuck by it and said, I saw them, they're there. And he said it may take centuries, but he said they're there, that Jupiter has. And that, to me, that is the professional level of what remote viewers do. And they have to have some kind of a gift resonance between their mind and the universe. But Buddy has said, we all have this potential. We all have this ability. It's just some people are much more sensitive, and others with training can become remote viewers. So now with that, Ian, see if Buddy would like to give his own comment about what I said as a sort of a layperson journalist.
Well, Buddy is in the chat tonight. He's responding. Buddy has just posted, for tests, double blind is standard, but clients and targets, I only want most basic. So he's answering questions as we go and dealing with it as we go with the audience tonight.
All right. Well, maybe he will send in a reply or a comment on what I have laid out. And in the meantime, wait for Buddy. Thank you, Buddy. I'm glad you're here and interacting with people, because don't you, Ian, have a new sense that is growing about the TRAPPIST being there, Buddy's remote viewing, the fact that we know that there, as far as I'm concerned, there are non-humans. They have been interacting with the planet for millennia. But doesn't it feel like we are finally beginning to get into the real territory of real scientists and real headlines that are getting closer and closer to announcing we're not alone in this universe? And once that brick wall is finally taken down and all of the bugaboos about humans cannot handle, that's been the argument, cannot handle the truth, which is nonsense, that we'll be really accelerated into a whole new relationship with ourselves, with the planet, with our solar system, with Mars, and with the universe. Do you feel that?
Absolutely, I do. And Buddy has just posted, as a homage to Ingo, I did Europa, that will be proven. He says he agrees with Linda. And we have a question here from Leroy Blanchard, who says, does Linda think that NASA already has pictures and they are postponing showing the public so they can touch them up or alter them?
I know they do. And I have to leave it there for now. I know that there are not pictures taken with the web. It's a whole other discussion. There is so much more, you guys. And I'll keep unfolding as much as I can. But I'm trying to stay grounded so that as we move along, we're moving with as much facts and science as possible. Essentially, I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned, Buddy is right on. Yeah, what else have we got? Ian.
Linda, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Will an extraterrestrial race help us if another extraterrestrial race is looking to colonize here and take over? What will happen to Homo sapiens sapiens?
It is a superb question. I think it is at the heart of the DIA analyst that I have talked to all of you about several times in the last 4 years. December 1999, and why it becomes increasingly important is that man was telling me absolute truths that were known, that are now beginning to show and blossom. And this is why what he said is worth laying out again as a reply to this excellent and important question. The DIA analyst, at the very beginning of the discussion, said that our government, the United States government, had proof that 3 competing civilizations that each one wanted Earth, each one wanted to be the priority, each one had to be dealing with the other 2. Conflict of 3 competing extraterrestrial civilizations over this Earth. And when he said that the 3 did genetic manipulation of all kinds of life forms, and even if 2 of the 3 could not claim Earth, it really didn't matter, because all 3 interacted, manipulated DNA, created a whole huge, all of these experiments going back 270 million years. Homo erectus did not stand up until 2 million years ago. And this evolutionary track to our particular form is one of the experimental tracks. It's that briefing paper that I was shown at Kirtland here in Albuquerque. These extraterrestrial biological entities manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. That is a sentence in the document. Creating by DNA manipulation. If that has been going on for 270 million years, then it is likely that perhaps the reptilian form, because the DIA guy, he identified the 3 competitors as reptilian humanoids, tall blondes, he didn't say tall whites, he said tall blondes, known as the Nordics, and the 3rd were the grays that even back then in 1999, he said, some of the grays are biological, but most we're dealing with artificial intelligence. And that what would be the, I guess, the measure of the blocks, the competition in the conflict for 270 million years between these 3 civilizations? Why would one not win? Or did one prevail? And then did others come along, like the tall whites? Allegedly, the tall whites are considered to be the superiors in being able to work with time and also manipulate anatomic structures, as Buddy senses that these beautiful cetaceans that he has identified on, I think it's Planet 3 at the TRAPPIST-1 System, they have, as he called it, prehensile, which prehensile is something like an elephant's trunk or something that grabs and can grab things and be very nimble with it, but not 5 fingers on hands. And that the water being that he was seeing, but they did have like arm appendages that fit into these fins, like sort of like wings to the side. And they had only 2 digits, but that between the mind, as I understand it, and having the ability to have a prehensile, that trunk could do digital manipulation as the 2 fingers could do manipulation. But that the key to the water beings is their mind, their ability to interact with atoms and molecules. Well, that doesn't even seem far out anymore. We're in a world that is rapidly, whether it has been inspired because of the work that we have been doing with tall whites and Nordics and Greys and whoever all is in the mix with different countries on planet Earth, the ability to work at the atomic level, to take iridium, for example, iridium atoms, and put them in pure aluminum in various specific places and make a skin for a craft that works with the bismuth, magnesium, zinc, also very, very atomically controlled. And knowing that when you can put atoms and then molecules in certain relationships to each other, and you understand gravity, that you understand the mathematical language of the whole universe, that you understand what Buddy refers to picking up in his remote viewing, substructure of the cosmos. And the substructure could be all the math, all the fractals, all the resonances, all the frequencies. We humans have not been educated as a whole species about any of it. It's mostly been kept secret, or it has been something that has sort of lightly gotten into people's educations and possible discussions. But we really are not educated. And the water beings have come up in a whole other star system. I did a fascinating interview. I have not shared this yet, but this was several months ago. And this was an interaction in a whole nother solar system in our interstellar neighborhood on a planet with breathtaking architectures. But the beings prefer to live in water. It's a water, land life. And when I did that first interview, I was considering how do we even begin to grasp what might be feasible in planets that don't have a lot of water and rock, but still may have life forms that we have no insight about. And in a way, the 7 TRAPPIST-1 planets, each one is pretty close to that red dwarf sun in terms of temperature. We're much further out. And that Buddy thinks that there might be even just microbes on the one that is, I think, closest to the sun, and then others have much more complex life, and that 3 and 4, the water beings, with their advanced ability to interact with the substructure at the atomic and the molecular level, it almost implies that, Buddy didn't say this, but I have heard others in abduction say, that they have gotten the impression from some ETs that they can think a structure and it's there. Well, to us, that sounds like magic, and magic is always dismissed. No. If the truth is, in this universe, we really are babies because we're not really educated at all. In fact, we have been kept in the dark. But that there are species in the TRAPPIST system that can do what was described in the biblical chapter about Christ sitting on a hill, communicating with people and saying something like, "Ye of little faith," about everybody was hungry and there was no food. And then he manifested wine and fish and bread. It's not magic if it is actually what the intercourse could be between minds and the substructure of the frequencies and the mathematical language and everything that this universe is, especially if it's true, and as far as I'm concerned, this is an absolute truth. We're in a universe that is conscious of all of the frequencies that are in it, of it, around it. Consciousness, it is conscious. And that being able to interact in your own human mind, concentrating on the words, thought that dwells in the light, enter, heal me, show me the truth. That in being able to concentrate on certain frequencies, we probably can manifest what we have lived as a species we would call miracles, but they are interactions with the conscious universe. And then there is the incomprehensible and the horrible interaction of what is happening in Ukraine. It's just incomprehensible to me that there could be this kind of evil brutality on the earth now through one being. But maybe something is happening that we don't see the big picture yet. And that I know an awful lot of people who are looking at each other and saying, I would never want to see you die by a bullet in the sidewalk, riding a bicycle, going into a store. And that maybe out of the horror and the evil, maybe the evil will disintegrate, and that what will be left, even though it's a horrible, horrible multi-destructions in the beautiful, beautiful country of Ukraine, maybe Homo sapiens sapien is being sort of pushed. You have choices to make here. You're either going to be on a planet where you humans in agape love will love each other and support each other, not fight at every turn, not turn politics into war, out of this horror in Ukraine, which again, we're in a universe that is conscious. We humans are conscious. Those water beings are conscious. The big-nosed beings who have no home planet. They are exiled into these five-mile-long craft. Imagine, put your mind as an exercise, and you begin to feel, I think, because I've done this, I've been trying. Imagine that we took what was left on planet Earth of Homo sapien, and we put them in craft, and we started out into space, and we had no destination. What would happen? Those are the kinds of questions about existential threats and events that might actually combine with, I think our government is finally getting ready to announce, and they're just going through all of this like kabuki dances to get up to the truth, that they know that there's life everywhere, that maybe this confluence of getting to the point where we're going to be introduced finally to other intelligences on a planet like ours that is struggling with the climate, with Ukraine, with a whole new question about, can humans, regardless of sex, of color, anything, can humans, the human species, learn to live in peace? It seems so strange that that doesn't happen. And there may be intelligences in collaboration with the entire universe's consciousness, that their whole job is to go from system to system, either trying to teach, like the avatars, or trying to judge whether something has to be put into extinction in order for an Earth, a planet, a solar system to be used for something else. There's probably a lot of that goes on in this universe. And it's just becoming real finally. And that sense of your gut, what is your gut reaction to the TRAPPIST planets, to Buddy's mind discoveries? And does it make you feel a little more excited and a little maybe freer that there could be planets with the kind of life that Buddy has seen and sensed? Does it make you feel a little better? I hope so. Okay, I know that was a long answer, but I get into these tunnels, as you guys know, and until I get out of the tunnel, I tend to talk a lot of sentences. So now I'll try to be shorter. Go ahead, Ian.
Okay, we've got Marion Smith, who's given us a great comment. She says, I think we've all moved past first contact. It's past true. It's just true, and most of us know it.
That is a beautiful way to put it. But on the other side of that is, why should we humans be on a planet in which, for reasons that are not clear at all, power brokers and so-called government leaders, religious leaders, leaders of many categories, have deliberately kept the general public human in the dark, when they knew that there were other life forms in this universe, now and in the past? That is, to me, a very troubling question. Oh, chocolate has come. Chocolate has come. Oh, it's so wonderful. He is absolutely one of the most extraordinary life forms I have ever known. Not only is he beautiful, but he's polite. Some of you may relate to that. He is the most polite animal. When I have times for feeding, and he'll come over and he'll go like this, almost with his paws together, and I will say, do you want chicken or do you want turkey? And he will go from his little ball like this, and then he'll do a little circle every day. He never changes. And the circle is sort of like he wants whatever it is I'm talking about, and he does it so politely. And if you put food down for chocolate, Fluffy will dive into it and start eating. So you have to help the polite, wonderful chocolate get his food, which is kind of a fun game here at this house. But it sort of also is that writ large about the different personalities of humans, cats, and all life, and that what we see in a variety of bell-shaped curves on Earth. It may be everywhere in the universe. But here is one very polite, humble, loving soul. Chocolate. Okay, Ian.
Linda, Rayanda Knox is talking about dreams. She says, is astral projection like being in a dream? She says, it all seems so real to me. And she's made a couple of other comments about dreams as well. A lot of people are commenting, saying that they've had dreams, specific dreams, and again, premonitional dreams as well.
I'm going to ask Buddy if he will make a comment on this as well. But it's my impression, because I have had so many dramatic insights through sleep, throughout my whole life. I think, in a sense, it is the gift of remote viewing for Homo sapiens sapien in general, that we have these abilities. I know Buddy has said that. Are the vivid dreams, the ones that you wake up, sometimes you find yourself sitting, or like when I was in the cat yoga pose the night that Simba died and he was in that tunnel and all of that. I don't exactly know how you go from sleep into getting up and you're not conscious. But remote viewing and these really vivid dreams that provide information, I think sometimes that maybe we're doing something similar, but Buddy has the gift. He doesn't have to go to sleep. He has the ability that when he starts concentrating on whatever, the target could be a number on a card that is related to Antarctica, his mind will be directed. This is that relationship between the consciousnesses of individual beings and the consciousness of the whole universe. And that when you are in resonance with a certain focus, you will see things, you will get answers. When you are working on problems, you will have this sudden insight. It's been throughout my life, it has helped me. But I never thought about it as being remote viewing that can be taught, as the government has learned, and they do. And if Buddy wants to put in a comment now to you, Ian, I'd love to know what Buddy would say.
Yeah, sure. We'll look out for that. Rayanda says, and she actually asks Buddy, do you think dreams could be viewing into another dimensional reality because you feel like you know everything that's going on in that timeline?
Well, so it is a question that we don't have any firm answer to, and Buddy probably doesn't either, but dreams can be remarkably insightful, and other dreams you just know it's just kind of like the residue of life. It's those really powerful, insightful dreams that seem to me to come into this territory. But what else have we got, Ian?
Okay, well, first of all, I better go through the super chats this evening.
Thank you.
Here we go. Moonbird, he's actually driving tonight, so Moonbird, keep your eyes on the road and safe journeys. MF, Joel Phelan, Dorothy Austin, Teresa Bass, Linda Emeterio, Noreen Colbert, Goldie Olvido Baroa from the Philippines. Sexy Sage is here again tonight. Mark Petrie, Deborah Kavanagh, Dry Toast, Christina Gomez. Thank you.
Wow. You guys and your creative names. I love you all. I really, truly do. Thank you for expressing your support. And let's hope, Ian, we've gone through 204,000 subscribers, right? And we keep growing and growing. And it's just this wonderful feeling, because what it says is that we are in content that I hope is both helping you and provoking you in your lives, as we are in it feels to me, the biggest revolutionary time of my existence on Earth. And we're going to be, I'm afraid, we're going to be in a lot of turmoil, maybe through this decade. And I hope that all of you feel that to come here and that we have these dialogues that are becoming more and more and more grounded in newer and newer science revelations all the time. I find it exciting. I hope you do too, and continue to. Okay, Ian, what other question do we have?
Before we do, I just want to say we've had people from checking in from all over the planet again.
Oh,
we've had
where?
People, from East Texas to Hawaii, from Puerto Rico, South Africa, Venezuela, St. Lucia, all over the planet. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I would like this to be an international, whole global gathering. So let's keep trying. All of you who, with some of the translators in Google, I know they're not very perfect, but I do get letters in other languages, and then I scan and I use Google to some extent, sometimes imperfectly, but we can try to move around the translation problem. Okay, what else, Ian?
Linda, what are your thoughts on channeling? We've never heard you much touch on this subject. Have you ever looked into channeling?
Now, Ian, my definition of channeling would be somebody laying down to become an open vessel for perhaps a target subject, or it might be a target person or something, and that they are waiting for another mind, another consciousness, another soul to enter their mind, and the channeling is the channeling of the incoming invited consciousness. Would you say that's what channeling is, Ian?
Well, I think that's a good summary there. Also, Linda, have you ever yourself remote viewed anything or tried remote viewing?
Well, Brad and I were talking about that. Do we do remote viewing when we are working on a project? I've always had such challenging. I'm a person always dealing with words and images and sounds and colors and how they add up to whether it is a science subject or an environment subject or whatever it is I'm working on. It becomes so overwhelming. It takes me over, and then I can get to a point. I'll give you one example that represents maybe 1,000 things like this. I was at the Denver TV station. I was working on a documentary that ended up getting a National Emmy Award, and it was about comparing the carbon monoxide problems in Denver pollution with Los Angeles. And I was had flown to Los Angeles. I had been up in helicopters that were scary because the helicopter was going around over the tall city where there was a lot of smog. And I had to fight that feeling that you're falling in those situations when you're close to the top of buildings and you have the line down to the ground. It was an intense, intense production. And I had always, until that particular production, I had always come up with titles first. In my life, I have no idea why, I will just have a title come in, and then everything sort of falls out through the title. And I had not been able to come up with a title that I thought was relating to the comparison of these terrible, they were really bad then, that was in 1976 to 83. The pollution was terrible. And it was really bothering me because now I'm beginning to get ready to work with a crew, and I still don't have the title, and without the title, I felt unfocused. And I went to bed with that anxiety, and I woke up that vivid dream I'm talking about, where your eyes open, but you're not seeing the room, you're seeing inside the dream that's still in your mind. And it was sort of a gray landscape, and it said, this voice came, even with music, and it said, "Poison in the wind." Poison in the Wind, that's my title. And it came with the scene, with the sound, and with those words, poison in the wind. And to me, what is the difference in what Buddy does when he sits down consciously and is able to make his mind focus, and then he starts seeing and writing words, Ingo Swann, in showing us his remote viewing books. And he would show, he'd say, the hand is going very fast, and they have a column, I think it was a column on the right. It might be one word, two words, something, and then this would be an area where they would sketch. And that's where Buddy is showing his pages. And they go very fast, and they turn the pages fast. And they're not thinking. They don't want to allow thinking. They're getting impressions, impressions, impressions. And they can fill up an entire notebook. And then comes some kind of analytical. But when they're in the act of remote viewing, it's impressions, 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 impressions. And in Buddy's case, he's extremely accurate. I don't know if I have ever done anything in my life that would be like that. I don't think so. So where is this sort of crossfade between when we're concentrating on, it can be concentrating on joy, it can be concentrating on love, it can be concentrating on lots of positive things. It doesn't have to be where you're always frustrated about something. Anyway, it's concentration of the mind on an issue. And that does seem to bring in a focus in sleep, for me, on problems. That one poison in the wind breakthrough is just one of so many examples. So what Buddy does, we need to have Buddy give us some paragraph on his own reaction, if he can. Here. Are you there?
Yes, Buddy is answering some of the questions in the audience tonight. I'm just going to another one here. Just bear with you a second, Linda. This one says, oh, I can't read this one. Sorry, the printer's gone wrong. That's not working. But Buddy says yes, he agrees, and he's given us some answers in the audience tonight, and he's fielding quite a lot of questions. People are liking this. Goldie Olvido Barroa says, could we perhaps do a show perhaps on some of these dreams and explore them a little bit more?
The thing, I know exactly what you mean, and I get letters about dreams that are so fascinating. I am trying with the Earthfiles YouTube channel to keep opening up material that I know that there is a tremendous amount of interest, that there is evidentiary material, and dreams, I think that they are really wonderful to study, but it's like a feeling of something that is over here and may impact our life. But I really, if all of you are with me on this, I really like concentrating on the science, the medicine, the environment, the physics. We're probably going to learn that we're in a holographic universe. And once that occurs, wow, the paradigm shifts hugely, because then what is conscious, organic life doing in a holographic universe? And who made the holographic universe? Who is projecting the holographic universe? And I feel strongly that the organic life of humans in this universe have souls, and that those souls are not understood by humanity, but that they are one of the most important part of us, and that the interaction between souls and projected universes and other kinds of universes is probably a whole other huge field that someday will be in physics. So you and I, we are struggling really at this juncture. What if we're in a conscious universe and we have souls and we have minds that can interact with the conscious universe? Why have we not been taught every day of our young lives how to interact with love and peace and positive energy with the whole universe and each other? Why has that been blocked? And if this entire universe is some kind of a laboratory experiment in dark versus light, hate versus love, life versus death, is that what this universe is about? And then those that never give up, those that are always trying for love and for peace, I think that there is some sort of evolution, and that those are worth fighting for. And that right now on Earth, the pain I think that most of us are feeling over Ukraine is that we can't comprehend how this is occurring in the 21st century. After all of the other wars, why has evil reinserted itself in such a dominant point in the beautiful country of Ukraine? What does it mean in the bigger picture? Ian.
Linda, I have the question back now. Linda, how would you arrange the first open contact with the visitors from the UFOs or the Minas if you moderate this event, maybe via video call in a TV studio?
How would I moderate it?
Yes, that's the question. How would you arrange the first open contact with the visitors?
I'll think about that, and I'll try to give you an answer next week, because these are worth thinking about. But here, I think what's coming into my mind immediately is, for centuries, humanity has not been allowed to even know what the power brokers of the planet knew about other life forms. That other intelligences have had roles of control on this planet, and they were not human. I'm convinced of that. So what is beautiful, precious Earth to those that are competing with each other, in conflict with each other, as the DIA guy said about 3? That we have not only not been told the truth about officially about any of the non-humans, we're getting it from whistleblowers. We have never, as a species, going back to 45,000 years ago in the crossfade with Neanderthalensis, humans have never, as a species on Earth, ever been told the truth as a whole species by ETs or by human power brokers. And so how would we open up this truth? My own personal bias is through science. I would hope that they will use the James Webb Telescope, and that they won't keep things super secret, that they will open up where they can see artificial structures someplace, because they should, within a few, 2 or 3 light years, they should be able to see. And then if that's safe enough, it's distant enough, show that there's artificial structures on a planet, and get past this strange straitjacket that the humanity has been in for so long by those that are controlling without telling us the truth. That's, to me, that's the bottom line that needs to be changed radically. We need to be in a universe where there is a support for truth, for God's sake. For truth. Truth is becoming the rarest event on this planet. I can't imagine going for another 2 years with as much total attack on truth as we have been experiencing. So with that, join me next week for new truths and old truths and more of your questions. And I love you guys, and I look forward to hearing about what you feel in your gut when you are concentrating on something like a planet. Do you get the sense that you're remote viewing, that you are accessing real material? I love you guys. See you next week.
Turn on closed captions for YouTube videos by clicking the white CC button on the lower right. The default language for Linda's videos is English. If you would like to see the captions in another language, click on the white settings button next to the CC button. Select Subtitles CC, and then select Auto Translate. Select a language, and the captions will now appear in that language.
Sort of gone through, and they will hold their heads. I never had a cat do that before. And they'll pull against the comb, helping me get out snarls. And I think it's the best they've ever been.